I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bagging enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bagging enough. Poppin' tan model BC couldn't brag 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 enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity.
And welcome once again to another episode of the Horizon Roundtable. I am Bob McDonald, and joining me is my co-host Jim Saro.
Hey, Bob. How are you doing today?
I'm outstanding. How about you?
I mean, as I said before the recording, today is a big day in the history of the Horizon Roundtable podcast, and I'm super excited to be part of it today.
And yes, and we've had many big days, but this one is super big. Jim, you can find on Twitter at Jim Saro. You can find us on the web at horizonroundtable.com. You can find links to all of our social accounts and places where you can find us where podcasts are available at horizonroundtable.com/subscribe. Become a patron, patreon.com/horizonroundtable. All of those features are up for $1 a month. You can get access to all those features. Oh, by the way, you get early access to Preview Week. That's coming up soon. So patreon.com/Horizon Roundtable. And of course, we're still in the middle of our donation drive. So you can donate at horizonroundtable.com/donate. And Jim, as you mentioned, we've had many significant events, but this one is kind of a big one. Joining us on this episode, we've alluded to it a couple of times in previous episodes, but he's here now. The new general manager at Green Bay's men's basketball team, Phoenix legend, Keifer Sykes. Keifer, thank you very much for joining us. I think I mentioned, this has been a long time coming. I'm glad that we were able to get you on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate the introduction. I'm still playing basketball as well, which is cool. With Green Bay letting me be the general manager of the program. So yeah, going into my 11th professional season. So I'm excited, man. It's been an amazing summer of growth and, getting past a decade of playing professional. After 4 years of college, I'm just continuing to stay motivated, stay climbing. So I'm excited for this pod.
Yeah. So first and foremost, obviously, congratulations on being named as general manager. So how did this opportunity initially come about, and what are your primary goals in this role?
Yeah, I think it came about. I just saw, different players doing it, and I always wanted to work in the front office. So that was, before this season, I spent the last 3 years in the States playing basketball. 1 in the NBA, 2 in the G League, but primarily to, just be around the league, playing in the NBA, being a part of the NBA Players Association, learning about, the NBA, how it works in the front office, what it took for me to get there. I was just interested in that job. I just felt like, I've spent a lot of time on the court, 4 seasons at Green Bay, going into 11 seasons pro. So that's 15 years on court. My trainer actually became the general manager of the Chicago Sky, named Jeff Pagliuca. So, to see him do that, and, for me just foreseeing that, I want to spend more time with my kids when I'm done playing, but I still want to be, involved with basketball. And I saw Steph Curry, become general manager. I saw a lot of current players like Trae Young, Terrence Mann at Florida State become the general manager. I just felt like at my university, I could, provide just some mentorship for the players, some player development, and just assist in the community, assist with us just building kind of on, the success that I had there, wanting to see them have success all the time and always wanting to be connected, with them putting me in the Hall of Fame a couple years ago, with them getting a new coach. I just wanted to continue to help build, because I build a lot in the community of Chicago, and I'm involved a lot with the youth athletes, with my own youth basketball mentoring, basketball camps and academies. So yeah, I just asked them for the opportunity. And man, they were just open for it. And Green Bay loves me. It's like my second home, so I'm excited to be on board and to be a part of the program in a different way now.
Yeah, Keifer,
And
as
Kiefer, as
a huge Phoenix fan, your era of Green Bay basketball really had some, not just yourself, but several other players from the greater Chicago area, and that led to tremendous success for the program. A little fun facts here, though. Last year, they won 4 games, 0 guys from Chicago. 2 years ago, they won 18 games. They had 2 guys from Chicago. And the 2 years before that, they won 3 and 5 games with 0 guys from Chicago. But when Link Darner was here, they were winning 17 and 21 with 5 and 6 guys from Chicago. So with Keifer Sykes as general manager, how are we going to get the Chicago pipeline going and get those kind of tough, gritty, athletic players back into Phoenix country, and then let you kind of do your thing with the player development and mentoring? Have you been thinking about how you can bring that Chicago and everybody knows you to Green Bay again?
Honestly, I wouldn't say directly through me, but definitely, me being on ground here, me knowing the players here. I'm having a showcase next week, September 28th here. So like I said, I'm heavily involved. Honestly, when players, from no matter where they are, when they go to Green Bay, they always call me and ask, or someone in their, they camp or their parents or someone that they know that know me, most of the time they just call me and ask about my experience. So, those, led me to, just helping. So I just wanted to be just more involved. But, obviously Chicago is a hotbed for talent. Like you say, a lot of athletic, gritty players where it's very saturated, where players get overlooked or, I like Green Bay because it's a mid-major, it's like especially way NIL works today in the transfer portal. Players are coming there from JUCOs, players are coming there from other Division ones, and players are leaving there and using Green Bay as just a platform to get to the next level, get to their future goals, whatever that may be. So I'm just trying to, like you said, be the connector for that. I wouldn't say the success or, the obstacles that we had last year were due to, not having many players from Chicago. Obviously, they had a player who was, leading the country in scoring, but got injured and, used his opportunity to, go to a high major. So they just kind of got unlucky and, Coach Doug's first year. So I'm excited to see his, the progression of the team this year is, he got in there for a year and I'm pretty sure they're going to do better. But yeah, I'm only here to just assist and just be a connector, definitely on Chicago because, I'm relatable to a lot of the kids and, my journey and how they respect what I've done from being underrated to playing at all the highest leagues and, playing in the NBA. I get a lot of love here in Chicago and could, filter kids there and, just have my eyes on kids. But, I'm actually here to help in all areas, even trying to get the better kids in Wisconsin. I'm having a camp when they do the jersey retirement ceremony. So I'm having a camp, I'm looking at actually having 2, one in Green Bay, one in Appleton, just trying to get, all over the Midwest, honestly, and just help as much as I can. I spent time in Indiana. I played in the G League in Detroit. So, my goals as a general manager are as ambitious or, pretty much I'm taking this as serious as I can be. It's more than even a role that they've given me. So hopefully it lead to me being a connector, like you said, to see us, have the success that we had when I was there.
I'm glad Jim brought up the Chicago connection with you specifically because when you were at Green Bay, you had a couple of you went you're a graduate of Marshall High School. You played at Green Bay with a couple of your teammates from a couple of folks that went to school with you at Marshall. First Alfonso McKinney, then Vincent Garrett. While, as Jim mentioned, there historically has been a significant amount of players from playing at Green Bay from Chicago. Was there a little extra something meaning to you playing with the guys you went to the same school with?
Yeah, definitely. Those are like my good friends, guys I played in high school with. So to have some comfortability up there, especially after my father passed away, it just it made me want to go harder for the team, for the city, for for the staff because they went out and, got some people that I was familiar with playing with, but also guys that helped win. Those guys end up becoming professionals. Obviously, Alfonso to the NBA, having a 5+ year career. Vincent Garrett to play in Germany. Khalil Small, he became one of the better players in the Horizon League, his upperclassmen years. And he wasn't from my school, but from Chicago, from the area. Greg Mays, Josh Humphrey, and then the guys that followed. But yeah, I mean, that meant a lot to me. And yeah, I mean, Chicago, I mean, we just always been known for basketball. So, the more, players that we could pull from the Midwest area that's right here, that's, not far, and they could get comfortable and come up to Wisconsin and have opportunity, the better. But like I said, I mean, even, players from that area that people in Wisconsin are familiar with, kids from in-state, home state kids, and, them have that same opportunity of success and, just be able to, equate that to winning, just getting wins and us getting successful and continue to build, our program up.
Keifer, you talked about Alfonso and Vince, and guys that you went to high school with, and other guys that you knew in Chicago that came to Green Bay. But you were the first, and so what was it about the Phoenix that drew you there coming out of high school that you felt like that was going to be the right fit for your basketball career, to launch? What did you see in Green Bay?
Well, I just saw the staff. So when I was getting recruited, it would be like one person from a school that would come, but Green Bay would have two people at the open gyms, 3 people at my AAU games, all 4 of the coaching staff coming to my in-home visit, things like that. So they really attracted my family, attracted me. Then they had 2 senior guards leaving, Bree Perrine, Ramon Fletcher. Obviously they had Alec Brown. So just me foreseeing, I'm like, hey, if people come to see this 7-foot guy, and, we with us having these pieces and a great, they were pretty young at the time. Coach Warder, having success at Marquette, just a ambitious, aggressive, coaching group who has that love and support and, want to bring the best out of their players on the court, but also support us off the court. We're going to make us play hard. I just figured that, we'll have success. So, with me, I just always felt like, being a point guard, playing a point guard position, I was always a natural born leader. So, yeah, I just wanted to lead the charge and, try to come in here and first find ways to, stand out in practice, then find ways to get on the floor. And then ultimately I became a starter pretty early and had some success and just wanted to build on that. But as you see even now, Coach Wardle having success at Bradley, going to the tournament, I think 3 times, the one time they, I think, couldn't participate because of COVID. But then, Coach Chris Cornelius having success, Coach Brian Baroni having success just going to the tournament at SIUE. Even Andrew Gavin, having success as the athletic director over at SIUE, who was the media guy for us. He was like family and someone that, was very supportive. Coach Foster, who's at Colorado State. All of those guys, it shows that even now they still have success, but that's where, a lot of success started from us. And, obviously just the Green Bay community, the fans, they treated me like family. A lot of the families there took me in. I was only a 17-year-old kid, the youngest freshman in the country. But, that city, with the Packers and just how loyal they are, they just brought the best out of us. And it was an amazing experience. And I'm just happy to, all of that is coming full circle right now with me being able to, be back up there and try to, keep building on that. I think it's still there. So I'm excited to keep building on it.
Speaking of Bradley, the Green Bay has the October 11th exhibition at the Crest Center. You're getting your jersey retired, which means that Brian Wardle, even though he's going to be on the other side of the other bench, is going to be there when your jersey gets retired. When you received the news that that was going to happen, what was your first reaction, and how is it going to feel that night when the people that have been a part of your basketball journey, specifically in college, are going to be there for you?
Yeah, it's crazy because like even today when I was working out, people know about it, so they tell me, and they still haven't really sunk in. It's starting to sink in a little bit, like, wow, like, the only thing I can think of is that, my jersey will be hanging, up there forever, and I never imagined that. It's just, like I say, the youngest, like a kid who was just, really small, really young. I never thought I would play, honestly, first, I didn't even think I would play in high school, coming from grade school, like varsity, I'm like, all right, maybe junior varsity. I just kept my head down and worked every day. I never thought I would go to college for sports. I never thought I would play professional. Never thought I would definitely play in the NBA. It was a dream or just a wish, like any other kid. But, being a small kid, small frame, everybody just saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Green Bay, what is that school? Like these are the things that I had to go through. It still doesn't feel real, but it was amazing for them. They, like I say, when they gave me the general manager position, I was up for the, the donor events because I have to go to the events and, with the team and the staff. And, they surprised me, telling me they were going to retire my jersey, after they, fully announced that I would be the general manager, which I knew about like a month before, but I didn't know my jersey was going to get retired. So at the event, they told me in front of everybody. So that was, it was shocking. It was loving. It was amazing. Because a lot of my friends, they felt like it, should have been happened. So they like, man, they were just always putting that in my head. But I just was like, I'm more of a guy that's just like, I'm just continuing to work year by year by year. Like I said, I just keep my head down and keep working. Once I achieve something, it's like I just, put it behind me and it's like what I could do next. That's just how I lead. That's just how I work. And that's, helped me continue to stay successful and humble and continue to help me, just moving forward and being forward thinking and continue to build. So, yeah, I haven't really took it in yet. I think on the day I will, but it's no better day than to do it with Wardle, who I just had a lot of, we battled together. We fought and built together. And, we even clashed sometimes because we wanted to both were so strong, and just trying to push each other and get the most out of each other. But when they said it and they said they were praying Bradley, I was like, that's the day to do it. It's like no other perfect day to do it other than that. And at the creche, I would love to do it at the rest too, but at the creche, where I spent a lot of time sleeping on campus, just building up in that gym practicing. So it just, it kind of is overwhelming. So I've been kind of avoiding it, the feelings of it, letting it build up. So on that day, I probably, be crying and, I don't even know what to say. Hopefully I can be able to give a good speech. I'm just speechless, honestly, and grateful and appreciative.
Keifer, you said it hasn't really sunk in yet, but if you were to stop and think about your era of Green Bay basketball and everything you guys did, you guys were regulars on like the Sports Center top 10. You were in the first four out your junior year in the NCAA tournament. I mean, you guys had some success and had some highlights. Is there something when you look back on those 4 years, like a play on the court or something that really stands out that you're like, damn, I did that. That was great. Like, I know you're a humble guy, so it's going to be tough to answer, but is there a favorite memory or something that really stands out to you about an on-court memory?
Man, I mean, it was definitely a lot of great memories. A lot of great memories. I mean, obviously, I just, everybody look back to that Wisconsin game, like even though we lost, it was just a first play, obviously a dunk, but just the energy that we brought there. And I just remember that day. I just couldn't sleep. I tried to nap like 20 minutes before the game. And just, bro, the energy, the flow of the energy, how it just, the crowd, that's when I was kind of like, wow, like, obviously a lot of Wisconsin fans too, the Badger fans, but it was like, wow, like we arrived, like we arrived. We were building that thing up, and that was kind of the moment like we arrived. And that whole junior year was amazing, with Alec. So, that was some of my favorite times in my life, So I would say like, yeah, like you say, the year, obviously, one thing that haunts me is we didn't make the tournament, but, it was a blessing that my guys made the tournament the year after I left. So I still feel accomplished because it was, pretty much a program thing, a team thing. And, for at least them to, do it, and I feel like I helped those guys as well. I felt fulfilled. Um, but yeah, I mean, just a lot of good times, a lot of great memories. I think a lot of it was a lot of the memories off the court. Just fun stuff where we used to like have midnight basketball runs that people didn't know about. Like, we used to just open the gym at 12 o'clock, 12 a.m. In the morning, well at night, and go in and have open runs and bring other guys from the city in there and get kicked out. Just all the fun things we did off the court was meaningful too, and how we just created a bond, like you say, in friendships where we all succeeded. And like I say, even the coaches and the staff, and just the memories we brought to the community. I feel like those were the most meaningful things, relationships that I still have to this day.
So I want to circle back to your hometown, Chicago, because I wanted to talk about the documentary you were in 2018, Chi-Town. Now, how did that project originally come about? And looking at it years later, is there any part of that film that resonates more than the rest?
Yeah, I think the best thing is seeing like my son, the times that, he was on campus with me, people got to see that my son was there, just hanging around the gym, hanging around the practices. To look back on that, me being like a teenage dad and, me going through just trying to, figure out life in college and, me having him by my side was amazing. And something that he always could look back and see and that we could see that we just grew up together. But it was amazing. So that came about where like my senior year in Chicago, this film crew was filming her 10th, I think in her last season of her show in Chicago, but they were from New York. So they were big basketball fans and they were doing their own independent project about basketball on the side. And they were recording all the seniors in the state, the top seniors. So it was like 30 of us. So when they got done with the senior season, they had the footage and, they felt like the project was too spread out. Like, they couldn't get a clear storyline of what they were looking for, just something that would, I guess just be a great picture, a great motion picture. So then, luckily I went to Green Bay. I went to a smaller school than all the other guys from the state because, we had like a lot of pros, Anthony Davis, Kentucky, Ryan Boatwright, UConn, Wayne Blackshear, Louisville, Chase and Randall, Stanford. So all these guys from my state went to big schools, Frank Kaminsky, Dave Sobolewski, Northwestern. So, I was able to, play a lot. Like I say, my story of being a teenage parent, me being from the inner city of Chicago, so seeing what my friends are going through. Then I ended up losing my dad in college. So they just were like, man, this story kind of embodies a great picture of what we want to tell. So it just happened, it just kind of happened randomly. So then they just filmed me all the way through college as I kept, getting better and better each year. And, more things start unfolding where like, okay, I'm getting some, attention from NBA scouts. Like I say, we're becoming one of the better men majors. So we get an attention from ESPN and, we getting articles now and we getting games on TV. So it was just, my college experience was really unique and it was really a blessing and it was amazing that we captured it. And, even now the movie is still on Prime. So it's amazing that, some movies are only on there for 6 months or 1 year, but for it to be on there from 2018, it's, to still be spinning now is, I'm just lucky, honestly. I'm just lucky and blessed.
Keifer, you mentioned that as you grew at Green Bay, the NBA scouts started to pay a little more attention. You did make it to the NBA. You had 32 games and 11 starts in the league. And I happened to be at the game against Milwaukee where he scored 10 and 5. And I was wearing a Sykes jersey, so I looked awfully smart as a fan that particular day. So thank you very kindly. I appreciate you.
Yeah, that was fun.
Your third game, you had 10 and 5. Your fourth game, 22 and 6. Your fifth game, 18 and 5. I know you're too humble to ever feel like you arrived, but I mean, what did you feel when 5 games into your NBA career, like you're doing it? And, how did that feel? And what was that NBA experience like for you?
Well, I mean, the NBA experience with everything, I think it was life-changing because now, that's something that I could, always, first of all, tell my kids. I mean, they got to see it, but that's something that I could always, that like a dream that I worked for my whole life that came true, like, some guys never make it to the NBA to play even, one game or even one day is just like a dream. And, even some players that play abroad, even at a very high level, EuroLeague, but they never try or come back and try the NBA. And I tried it. And just to have that courage and to be able to make it, and like I said, even like you say, some people make it and don't play, but I was able to play. And then some people make it, but don't ever start, to even start that many games. It just was, it just makes it all real. It was a, great experience, that changed my life forever. Because I can truly say, that I measured up against the best in the world, in the best league in the world. From Green Bay, from all the obstacles, from being underrated, underranked, and the way I had to do it, I had to fight for it. And it's just honestly, it was just life changing. It was just life changing. It was a dream that finally came true. And like you said, for me to be there and actually produce was even more fulfilling. So it just showed like if you work hard, that anybody is capable of anything, no matter how long it takes. And yeah, that experience was everything, to, have a game where we beat Stephen Curry, someone like that I looked up to and never thought I would be able to compete with and measure myself up with. So yeah, to measure myself up with those guys, it was just like, I feel at peace with my career. If it ends today, I feel at peace with my journey. And because some people feel they missed something or incomplete, but I feel, already at peace, even though, and now everything else is just adding more to it, with the GM thing. And, I won a championship this past year in Poland, and, to go into my 11th season, see how far I go. And, what I plan on doing after is all just, extra on top of what I already built. So it's cool to, now create a new destination for me to reach.
I'm glad Jim brought up your experience with the Pacers, because I want to rewind back to that summer of 21, because you participated in the basketball tournament as part of Boeheim's Army, the team that won the TBT that year in 2021. Could you kind of, because it seemed like once you had that experience, and it seemed to me that was kind of the foundation for this opportunity where you eventually ended up with the Pacers kind of came to fruition. I guess I want to ask, what were the conversations that you had to be a part of that initial TBT team? How did that all come to pass?
Yeah, I'll speak about that, and I'll say where, like you say, all of that energy, came from leading up to making the NBA, because that was definitely a part of it. But however,
you're like
so
everywhere
I was,
that whole time.
Yeah. So I was, I started my overseas career, and like I said, I always had the goal of playing the NBA. No matter what people said, what I go overseas or how long it was going to take, I just kept working and kept building and working my way up abroad. So I was playing abroad for 5 seasons at the time. My first year was in the G League though. So I was playing abroad, and, like I said, I was working my way up. And then, first I'll talk about the TBT. So that happened where I was becoming a good player overseas. I played in China, played in the EuroLeague, and, I was doing well. So the TBT is picking like the best players from, not the best players, only players from overseas could play, no NBA players. And, Boeheim's Army, which is, I like to tell people now, like that was my Division I, my high major school now. I'm an honorary member of Syracuse forever because we won that championship. But, they had a team who I think for 6 or 7 years, they were trying to win the title in that TBT. And this year, they were bringing in other players. They were bringing in other players on their team that was, doing well overseas to win it. So, they called me during the season, towards the end of my season, and said, they were the first team to pay to play. They paid us to play. So they were like, hey, if you want to play, we got some money for you and we're trying to win it. And, usually I don't plan that stuff. In the summer, I'm just training because I'm trying to really honestly focus on the NBA and spend time with my kids. However, what was unique about the Boheim team, like I said, they were paying, but also their first 3 games were at Bradley, in front of is in Illinois, and that's where the state tournament was while I was in high school. And obviously, Coach Wardle coaches there. So it was like, okay, I could play 3 games in the States in front of my family. It's not far. And, on Wardle's turf. So I was like, yeah, coach can see me play. Like, why not? And then, luckily we ended up winning it. However, but I'll go back a little bit further than that, because this is when I started, like 2020, and I was like, man, I think I want to try for the NBA. As I like to say, started playing in China, started playing the Euro League, became the Champions League, all like highest score in the game. And, like I said, I'm always trying to find a way to get back to my kids, because being a father is first for me. So I was telling my agent, like, man, I think I want to, play in the NBA. It was already COVID. It was a lot of problems back in the States, with people, just being sick, and, I'm missing my family, and you playing abroad, and everybody being on lockdown. It started making me just think more about just spending time with my family, because that's what, COVID made us all realize, like, we always working and moving, like we need to, be quarantined with the ones we love. And so yeah, in 2020, I was like, after this season in Australia, I'm going to try for the NBA. So that's why, after Australia, I was already signed to play for Indiana in the G League. And, when people saw that I hit the game-winning shot to win the TBT, they saw that I automatically signed to Indiana. But I was already planning on playing here in the States. So that was just more momentum of me just building up overseas. Then that tournament helped me just, get seen nationally on ESPN in the summer. And then going into Summer League, Indiana, I played well. Then going to training camp, I played well, but I got cut. Honestly, because they signed a veteran. I felt like I played really well in training camp. But they signed a veteran during training camp who they wanted to be a point guard, and I kept playing well in the G League. And I ultimately got the call up, to be on the team and sign a 4-year deal.
Keifer, when you think about yourself, you talk about this journey to get to the NBA, and then you think about today's world where you're now the GM versus when you played. It had nil and revenue share and the transfer portal been a thing when you were at Green Bay, you would be a guy that everybody would look at and said, yeah, that makes total sense to move up. And that's just being realistic about, the success you were having. But there's a lot of guys I feel like that move to move, with that experience of being a 4-year guy and being the man and everything that you accomplished in Green Bay, helping to springboard your career, what would you tell the guys that aren't the no-brainer, like move up guys? What would you say to them about, hey, stay where you are, be where your feet are at, based on your experiences?
Yeah, definitely. With the way the landscape is, guys are not doing 4 years anymore. So a lot of these records and like even the things that I've done are going to withhold, at these schools, because even if you're doing good, a lot of players go to a different school just for the experience. However, I mean, I'll tell guys, even now, I always tell guys, like you say, even some guys go places for money, but then don't get the same minutes or success they previously had. And then some people just bounce around just to bounce around. And then sometimes it works out in their favor. But, it ultimately comes down to going to the school that's for you. Even Green Bay, like I said, people were like, what is that school? They didn't understand, why I was going to, a mid-major school in the Horizon League. They was like, if you're going to do that, I could have went to UIC or Loyola or Bradley or Illinois State, just some schools that are more known in the Chicago area or in the Illinois area rather than the Wisconsin area. And then, like I say, a lot of kids that I've seen that a lot of kids in my class that I passed because they went to the Louisvilles and the big name schools, but then it didn't work out for them based on the competition or whatever. But it sounded good for them, when they had their going away parties and, for them to, say that to their peers and, people in the basketball industry. Oh, I'm going to this big school. It sounds good. It feels good. It just, it feels good. But then when you have to face reality and go out there and put the work in and try to get minutes, it's difficult. So, I always tell these kids they go to the school that's for you. And that's part of me, being a general manager, trying to help manage these kids, even at Green Bay, kids that may have a good year, I'm trying to keep the kids, stay. Like, hey, if you go over here just for 20,000 extra, but you could stay here and have another great year because you're already doing well against the competition, it's only going to benefit you rather than going to new situation where you got to learn offense and try to ingrate yourself into a new team, a new system, and in a new conference, and a new playing style and a new style in that conference. It may be difficult when they already have players. So I just really tell players, like I say, telling players that's coming in, it's this is a great school for you, a good springboard that's going to, boost you to another place. Like you said, I could have got springboarded, definitely, to somewhere else. And obviously, I don't, try to only tell kids to stay. It's about going to the school that's for you because, for me, I think with me being, very, very, very loyal, because I could have left, after my dad died to many schools and things like that. But obviously the money would have definitely been probably the only thing that would have, I would have had to take, be having a son and my family being in the inner city of Chicago. I understand that, even me, I probably would have had to, leave for hundreds of thousands of dollars that I probably would have got offered. So I'm happy that wasn't in the mix when I was there. So I was able to stay. But I get it, and that's why I'm just here to advise and just mentor and manage the youth, and just I just tell them all just to go to the school that's for you. Make sure it's for you, that you're not going to the school for the name, that you're not going to the school for what sounds good or what feels good. But you're actually going to get a great opportunity, which I had at Green Bay, and which is why I stayed.
You mentioned that you're going to be going to your 11th year as a pro. I know you spent last season in Poland. Where's your journey taking you this season?
Yeah, my journey. I talk with my agents. I'm planning on going to Asia. Like I said, last year was my first year back, so I went to Europe. I think this year I want to go to Asia. And then from there, I will see I would just try to see, where I'm most comfortable with, Europe or Asia. So I've always in my career liked to, move around as far as, go to a different team every year. And that's been cool for me just to have the experiences and just see the world. But now I'm starting to just, transition into, what's more comfortable, where I'll be able to, practice well, take care of my body, play well, just make good money, and just be comfortable. So I think after this year, I'll be able to decide, if I want to finish up in Asia or finish up into Europe, these next, I would say 2 to 5 years, and just be comfortable. I'm looking for more comfortability now than just having the experiences, because like I said, I pretty much experienced, I wouldn't say everything, but a lot, with basketball. Basketball has blessed me with a lot. So now I'm just trying to, have an impact, to have a legacy comfortably, and, just go out playing well. So I'm just very motivated this season to just play well, see something new, and then figure out, how I want this legacy to be.
Playing overseas, I got to ask, is there a favorite place that you've been?
Yeah, I would say a couple of them, but ultimately, to be honest, my first year abroad, which is my second year pro in South Korea, that was my favorite year. We won the regular season title, we won the playoff title, we won a championship. We were winning the whole season. My fellow American was someone that I worked out with here in the summers. He was my veteran. I was a rookie abroad, so he's from the Chicago area, so he took care of me, David Simon. And with it being my first season abroad and me just being so just wide-eyed and excited, and man, we just, the fans really loved us in Asia. I'm looking forward to going back to Asia. So yeah, it was just a fun time. The fans love basketball. They show a lot of love. Europe sometimes it's pressure. Like, you got to win games. It's very competitive, and the fans are strong and competitive, as you may see online. With like the atmosphere of European games, they got flares. Fans are loud and very much involved, and just cheering on a lot. And but Asia is just a little bit just easygoing, loving, and you get to be featured a lot more because it's only 2 or 3 imports, other than in Europe where it's like 6 to 8. So yeah, I'm just looking to go to Asia, experience that. I haven't experienced that in a while since I played in China, which was my 5th year. So yeah, I'm looking to go to Asia this year, see what that experience is like for me here in my 11th year.
And Keifer, can you confirm a rumor I've heard about you that the number one reason you signed with Southeast Melbourne was so that you could be a Phoenix again? That Green Bay Phoenix meant so much to you, you want to become the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. I believe that's their team nickname. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's their team mascot name, and that is true. It was their second season in existence, and I really wanted to help that team win. I think I bring a lot of value to a team, just like culture wise. I like the impact winning, like on the court, off the court, leading by example. Like I said, pretty much how like Green Bay. How I just like to bring big influence onto this team. So this team, I told them like, hey, I think I'm gonna try to bring us to the playoffs for the first time, and you all are Phoenix, so it just feels right. You all got green. So and honestly, that team owner was very, very cool, an American guy, and he let me meet the whole um front office staff and all of the owners. So I've always been kind of trying to look at the back office and the front office of the teams, and with them being a new franchise, they gave me an opportunity to learn a lot about just what goes into structuring a team. So they also gave me a lot of ambitions about being a general manager, being in the front office, and being connected with the owners. And I'm still good friends with him to today. So yeah, man, that was another one of my favorite experiences playing for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, because they were the Phoenix just like Green Bay.
And Keifer, we've talked so much about your on the court and the future state of on the court. When I had talked to you at a 1969 event earlier this summer, I'd asked you about your foundation that you have. Can you just tell us about some of the things that you got going on off the court, like some of the things that you're thinking about as an adult and as a mentor that you're doing that maybe you could give a little shout out to the people who learn about who's Keifer Sykes beyond the highlight reel and basketball player?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I started the Free 10 Foundation, which is my non-for-profit organization to help kids. Our mission is to help kids that's been impacted by gun violence, mass incarceration, and just being underprivileged. I feel like I was a little bit underprivileged. Obviously, I was blessed with a talent, though. I was blessed with a gift, and I did have both of my parents, which no matter how, if we were in poverty, um, or how we struggled, I had that family support, and they helped catapult me, like I said, with my talent and my gifts to get these opportunities. Which I said earlier, I've had some luck, and I understand that choosing the right high school and having my dad do that for me, choosing the right college, having my parents choose Green Bay for me, and going to Green Bay where I was able to be a big fish in a small pond, which what it happened to be, and to play on the right teams abroad, to work my way up to the NBA. All of these things are luck, but a lot of people where I'm from are actually unlucky. Um, get um, a big city of despair, and they get taken in by that, and a lot of negativity, and people are just, I don't mean to be just so I don't mean to just be so transparent, but people are shot, people are killed. Um, Unluckily, here, people grow without parents. Unluckily, you just can't be born and just realize you don't have your dad. Like some don't even have their mom. Some don't even have both their parents, living with their grandparents, things like that. So that's why I say, I'm lucky because I've seen, both sides of the spectrum. So I created this non-for-profit to fill that void of kids who lost their parents to gun violence, parent kids who lost their parents to, being in jail, where, we come in and fill that void, or just, like I say, helping them that are underprivileged. So we have Christmas drives. I have an annual winter coat drive. Like I have these basketball camps where I'm relatable to the kids, but then I start to gain a relationship with them and, mentor them. We have turkey drives, things like that, and I'm continuing to build it up. So that was the first thing that I would say as far as business I created in 2018 as a professional athlete. because as I got to see, how basketball started taking me all over the world, and how I was just lucky to have this journey where I'm able to escape from this thing. And I had a talent to escape, in Green Bay. I had a talent. Everybody that I knew or called back home were still stuck in that. And, for me, it didn't really become, I didn't really understand it until I saw the movie, like I'm just thinking it's my regular life. People are dying, people going to jail. We grieve, we learn to just keep going. And I was able to just fight through it and be so strong and play basketball. It was nothing to me until I saw the reaction from people when they saw the movie, when it was in my face, like, wow, people just like, oh, you're so strong and this, and like people go through that. And I'm like, well, it's just normal for us. We just fight through this. So that's when I had the idea, like, I have to help these people and use this film as a instrument to help these people and to find a way to give back. So, everybody who was like, how can I help? How can I help? I created the Free 10 Foundation, to give back to my city and to give back, like I say, all over the Midwest in different ways. So, I'm looking to have a free camp in Green Bay the day of the ceremony. And that's some of the things I do. I'm looking to have a camp to get to know the kids and to give back some of my gifts and my game and the jewels and the knowledge and the insight that I got from basketball and just my life journey to the kids in the Wisconsin area. So yeah, I'm looking to having a Free 10 Foundation event on the day of ceremony just to give back, since Green Bay gave so much to me. And that's something I do. I like to just impact the kids and try to keep them positive, keep them motivated, keep them inspired as much as I can. I wasn't probably the best NBA player, but I believe my journey is relatable to people who, may not be the best basketball player, but if you just have good character and good leadership and stay positive, the world will reward you in whatever the way that, fulfills you and keep you at peace.
And incidentally, if you want to learn more about Keifer's Foundation, you can go to free10foundation.org, free, F-R-E-E, the number 10, foundation.org. There are links. Looks like you can volunteer or even donate. So learn more about that at free10foundation.org. Jim, do you have any other questions?
I do not. I'm just super thankful, Keifer, that you gave us the time today to just talk all things about your basketball career, your Green Bay time, and I really appreciate you today. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, man. These are great questions. Like you bringing in foundation, like I said, bringing up that part about the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Definitely apologize on that question. These are some deep questions. Showing love on the general manager side. It's all still fresh to me, so I appreciate this opportunity. This interview was fresh. I do a lot of them, but the energy was good. It was just fresh. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I actually do have one more question, because there is one more thing I needed to ask, and that's the Keifer Sykes song by the Wisco Kids. I got to ask about that, because you're like one of only two Horizon League players that I know of who have a song named after you.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you first heard it for the first time, and how does it feel to be one of the lucky? I know Norris Cole has a song, but that wasn't until way later, until after he was like in the pros. How did be a Horizon League player who actually has a song dedicated to them?
First of all, that's crazy. Second of all, I want to mention that Norris Cole, I played with him in Italy one year, and he would blast that song all the time. Like, games. Like, it was so ironic because he was someone I looked up to at Cleveland State, and to go to the NBA, play for Miami Heat. So we was on a team together. I was looking up to him, and he's like, he like, what, you got a song? He would play it all the time. Like, before the games, he's listening to it like, hey, Keith, listen to this. Like, bring me over. He have it in his headphones. But it's just funny because at first, I was getting so much attention at Green Bay, but I'm just a team guy. I'm always trying to direct the attention to put more on Al, put more on the team, put more on everybody, and, bring us along together. So, to have a movie and a song, honestly, I'm a little bit jaded because I don't really like to watch the movie, to watch myself. I just feel like I'm not into myself. I'm always into what's next. And then to hear the song, it's be like, Keifer Sykes, someone saying my name. I kind of try to hide, when it's on. My friends are blasting and try to embarrass me. But, I love the song. First of all, the Wisco Kids, those are my friends. And it was cool that they did that. And it was a surprise. Even my guy Trips at Beats, who produced it. They all my good friends, so it was amazing that they had the the love to do that. But I mean, the song was actually a good song, and it was playing a lot, and a lot of people liked it. So I liked that it was a good song. You know what I'm saying? Because it could have been a bad song, right? It was a great song, and I do want to hear that when I go up there for the event, and those are my guys. But yeah, it was amazing. I guess the next thing on my list is to create a book. You know, I've been trying to think about making a book one day to, use my communication degree that I have and to have something tangible to tell my story. But to have that, to show love and to tell my story, and the people in Green Bay liked the song. It was a good song. It was man, it was cool. It was actually cool. Like I said, it was a great song. Those are my friends, and people liked to play the song. You know, people liked it, so it was people still like the vibe of it, the beat of it when they find out I have a song when they go on YouTube or something. So it's catchy, it's fun, and it's just something else that was unique and just just a blessing, honestly.
Yeah. By the way, we will have a link to that YouTube video in the podcast notes, by the way. So let the folks over at let the PA folks over at Green Bay know that that's where they can find it. So they don't have to worry about looking for it.
Bob,
Yeah,
you know I'm on that. That's the first thing I'm doing after I hang up on this. I'm calling straight up to Green Bay. That's going to happen.
yeah,
There
like
you go.
the one with the highlights. They did some good ones with some highlights. It was lit, man.
Yeah.
Green Bay, man, my second home, man. I appreciate them so much.
Yeah. All right. Well, Keifer, once again, thank you very much for joining us. We talked about the foundation. Tell everybody else where. Tell us where else we can find you online.
You can find me on Instagram at K Sykes, KSYKESYB 28. You can find me on Instagram. I'm more active on there at K Sykes YB 28. Same thing. And again, you can find me on free10foundation.org. Free 10 Foundation. We have a Instagram account. We have LinkedIn. And another thing for my basketball camps, I have YBM_sports, youth basketball mentoring sports. So I'm just trying to continue to build it up. Just build my business up and build it up off the court as I'm getting into my third act, I would say. College, and then, pro up to the NBA, and then, my pro career after the NBA, and then, my fourth act would be just business, man, and just continue to be a grown man, a businessman. So, I'm transitioning into, the second half of my basketball career, and figuring out what I want to do off the court. So I just appreciate the love and support, and anybody that wants to build could find me in those places.
All right, great. And that's going to wrap it up for us. Jim, next week we got Rocco Miller, who just announced he's got a live show on Field of 68 now, so we're going to have to ask him about that. Until then, horizonroundtable.com, that's where you can pull up all of our articles and all our past podcast episodes. You can pull us up on your Amazon or Google devices, and of course you can find us where podcasts are available. So tune in next week. Until then, thank you all for listening.